Can Russians understand Ukrainians? I've had an interesting experience recently that's a good analogy for English speakers. We've been watching dark TV series in the original German, with English subtitles. I know some German and I know the history of Proto-German developing into English. My husband only knows English. But just a few episodes in, he started asking questions if characters sometimes use English. I'm positive he just said "let me go," just like in subtitles. No, it was "lass mich los," explained I. It just sounds that much similar in spoken German because English developed from the common root with modern German by the process of many generations speaking it. Modern German is just a more conservative modern version of that language. I just heard her say "I think that," then I looked at the subtitles and there it was. No, it was "ich denk das." The way they say it, denk and think sound almost the same to me. And so, once you, as an English speaker, get a little immersed in German, it starts to sound like a version of English that has kind of a funny way to say the same words, has more irregular verbs, doesn't use do that much, but tends to move some particles, verbs and prepositions to the end of the sentence. You don't know German at this point, but you can make sense of it and twist your English a bit to make yourself understood by someone who doesn't know English. It's kind of the same story with Russian and Ukrainian. If you go to Ukraine or listen to a lot of Ukrainian content, you start to map Russian to Ukrainian in your head, and you start to get it. Then you can guess often correctly many Ukrainian versions of Russian words even if you didn't hear them from Ukrainian speakers. You will also recognize some Slavic roots that are considered archaic in Russian, and you've only seen them in fairy tales or old interviews, but are well and alive in Ukrainian. However, it does require a period of immersion. When I've worked in the north, among people who've never been south of Moscow and didn't travel much anyway, they didn't even understand some words that we in the south have in common with Ukrainian. I didn't even realize at the time that these words weren't standard spoken Russian. As much as it sounds incredible to southern Russians who think of Ukrainian as mutually intelligible with Russian, many northerners and Siberians just don't understand Ukrainian. They would if they'd listened to it for a period of time, though as with English and German. You've asked a difficult question. I'll answer as an ethnic Russian. In terms of language, most Ukrainians speak Russian, or at least know how to speak Russian. Even if they decide to use Ukrainian language in communication being in Russia, it's still understood more or less. I've had experiences of Ukrainians talking to me in their language, and I responded to them in Russian. There was no major misunderstanding. Yet culturally we are different even from the Russian-speaking Ukrainians, and that's where the biggest difference lies. On cultural level there is less understanding. Up to the point that sometimes I wonder whether we can really understand Ukrainians. Yes, most versions of Ukrainian are at least 50% understandable to Russians. A month-long course can improve that to 90%. No amount of learning will allow a Russian to pass for a native speaker, because no two people will agree which version of Ukrainian is the real one. In particular, any Russian word can be quickly adapted to serve as an Ukrainian word, but your Ukrainian language teacher will flip a coin and declare the word a loanword from Russian based on the results. Coin flipping is done separately for every student to ensure they still can't agree which version of Ukrainian is the real one. Most Ukrainians speak Russian. If Ukrainians want Russians to understand Ukrainian, they do not use Polish, German, and Jewish words. In this case Ukrainian is quite comprehensible. For example, Shevchenko's poems are easy to understand. It was once a surprise for me, but by my experience, they can't. They can understand some Russian words in Ukrainian language and some international words, but they are not able to get meaning of whole sentence. Ukrainians can understand Russians much better than Russians Ukrainians, cause mostly all Ukrainians can speak and understand Russian while very few Russians understand Ukrainian language.